Hey guys, MC Stu here, and today we're going to talk about the rep system in Star Trek Online. We're going to touch on how to navigate the system, how to progress through the system, and take a look at a few of the many awesome items that this system has to offer. Before we jump into it, if you haven't subbed already, I'd appreciate if you hit that button, ring the bell, give the video a thumbs up if you find that it is helpful to you at the end. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So we're gonna take a look, like I said, how to navigate through the system, what you need to do to progress through it. There is just an endless amount of gear that the rep system has to offer, like this armor set that I'm wearing here. There's tailor unlocks, there's space gear, there's ground weapons. If you're free to play or a budget player, this is going to really be your go-to shop. And even if you're not, you're going to find, the high-end DPSers in the game, they're using tons of rep gear. There are some items that are just unmatched, best in slot, and if you're not familiar with the system or if you have not started progressing through the system, you need to make that a priority. So let's go ahead and we're going to jump over to another character. This particular character is maxed out, so we're going to take a look at a lower level one that is not maxed out all the reps. We can take a look at how to go ahead and progress through that, and then we'll go over to some more developed characters just so we can take a look at some of that gear. Okay, here we are on it's not a lower level character. He is level 65, but he is not a fully developed character. The rep system is nowhere near complete. So let's take a look here. So if we look over here on the minimap, or just beneath the minimap, on the top right here, you're going to have your character screen. You can also hit the button U on your keyboard, and this screen will come up that I'm sure you're most likely familiar with. All the way over here on the right, we are going to see reputation. There is quite a few reputations. In order to have this available to you, you'll need to be at level 50. So once you hit level 50, you are going to unlock this system and can start progressing through it. So in order to progress through this system, what you're going to need to do is run TFOs, play the game. As you play the game and you run different TFOs, you will receive boxes. When you get done with those, particular maps will offer particular kinds of marks. So fleet marks are, what you use for the fleet, which we discussed in the last video. And then depending on which map it is, there'll be different marks available for you to choose from that will correspond with the different reps here. And you can view where you are. If you take a look at your inventory here and click on assets, you will see here that I have 165 Omega marks. So if you're running Borg TFOs, you're going to get boxes with these. I think the most efficient way to get marks and dilithium, since you get both of those from running the TFOs and playing the game, is to do randoms. So when you get a random, you're going to get your choice of whatever the corresponding marks are for that map. But then you also will get a drop box for running it as a random. And when you open that, there's different qualities of it, as I'm sure you're aware. If you're not, when you get done, you get the box. There'll be different quality boxes that can drop, and those different qualities will have a different amount of dilithium and marks. And the nice thing on those mark boxes or choices is they're going to be choices of all the different marks available. So let's say you need competitive marks. Those tend to be hard because the competitive TFOs are larger, they require a little more teamwork, and you just don't find that those pop very often when you queue for them unless they are part of the universal endeavor system for the day, which generally isn't most of the time. That's not going to be the case when you log in. So if you run a random, and let's say you get, just say a Borg TFO, and at the end you get a choice between fleet marks and Omega marks, you can take your Omega or your fleet marks, but then you'll also get that box because you selected it as a random, and then from that box you could select the competitive, and the amount of marks it's going to give you just is randomized depending on what quality that box is. So it ranges from, you know, your common all the way up to your epic. And I think your epic will have like up to 350 marks in it. So just by running a couple TFOs, if you need to pick up a few extra marks to buy some gear, you can run a few randoms. And if you get lucky and some of those randoms happen to also coincide with what you're after in terms of the TFO it drops you into at that map, you may be able to double up on what you're getting in terms of marks for the day, the one from the actual TFO itself and from the random box drop. And when I say random, it's random in quality. You will get the box drop every single time you run a TFO. So if you go here and I was to click on join random, whatever I run, I'm going to get, let's say it ends up being this one here. I'm going to get a choice between these, and then I'll get a box dropped into my inventory, and the rarity of that box is random. So that's how you get marks. Let's take a look at how we use those marks to progress through the system here. So luckily on this character, I happen to have some that have been completed and some that have not been started. So we can start at the beginning here. So this is on, I believe it's a 20-hour cycle. I don't think it's 24 hours. We'll double check. But let's say we're grinding up this Omega. And I would recommend you'll run your missions. Basically, you need 30 marks a day. So, for each one to run the daily on it. So run as many of them as you can at once. You want everything. Just purely focusing on one is going to be a waste of time, because running one TFO is going to get you enough marks to do the daily for any particular one. So if you run, I don't know, let's split this in half, whatever it is, 7 TFOs with the random boxes, you should get enough marks to run the daily mission for every single one of these. So let's take a look at the daily mission. We are in the Omega rep here, and you have 2 project slots, and then you have an upgrade available slot. So let's look at the select active projects. So the one at the top here is going to be your daily. This is going to have a 20-hour cooldown. It's going to require 30 marks in order to run it, and it's going to require a little bit of EC, which is 15,000, which is nothing. You can get that for one piece of loot that you sell to a vendor. And it's going to require some expertise. I have never once in my entire life playing this game never had enough expertise points to spend for anything ever one time. So this is really a non-issue. Even if you're barely playing the game, in order to level up, you're just going to get so many of these, it's not going to matter. So don't even think twice about that. The main thing to get is going to be your marks. So I'm going to go ahead and slot this daily mission. This is going to give me 5,000 Omega special task force reputation points for the day, and when it's complete, I will also get 340 dilithium. And you can see if you do all of these every day, you're going to get a decent chunk of dilithium as well there. You'll exceed very easily if you're working your way through this system and you're doing this every day, every other day, or whatever it may be. You could run TFOs every 2 days if you wanted to, get the marks, have enough to slot 2 days worth, and be getting enough dilithium along with those, every other day of playing to get enough dilithium to refine the 8,000 daily. So, what we'll do is we're going to just say fill all. So you'll see the individual requirements for each one, and it's going to go ahead and fill that out. Now, when you do that, it's going to drop a box in your inventory as well. Most of the time, this stuff is crap. But every now and then, especially on a character, maybe he's level 50 or he's 65 like this, but I don't have a lot of gear because he's a newer character, undeveloped. I will be able to use some of this sometimes. So here's a ground weapon. There's other stuff that's better. I'm going to just trash this, right? Some like this one here, this is from the Discovery rep. Every now and then you'll get a console. If this was a science character, this isn't a half bad console to fill a slot for now. You're getting a boost to your EPG, and you're getting critical chance. So not a terrible console if, you don't have a lot of stuff to put on this character to start with. And this is just, random stuff you're just going to get. I trash most of this, to be completely honest with you. So I also, just before we get sidetracked, looks like I actually have a random box drop here that was an ultra rare. So this one drops 2,100 dilithium and 210 marks of my choice. So if I open this up, you'll see I'll be able to pick any kind of mark that I want here. And I really didn't want to open that up yet, but let's go ahead and do that. So let's take a look at what I need here. Why don't we pick up some more discovery marks? Let's do that. So we're going to take those and boom, there's a huge chunk. So that's 210. So that's enough for 7 days worth of running your daily. So you can see even with just one of those halfway decent ones, that one's second from the best. You can really progress through it. Okay, so let's move this along here. So we slotted the daily mission. We have 20 hours for that to be done. Let's say it's the next day, okay? So I come back to the Omega rep, and it's going to look like this. So we're going to look at the Discovery rep because this one was started yesterday and is now complete. And this is exactly how all of them will look. So I can complete this, I'll get the dilithium, and then I will also get the points, the 5,000 rep points for the Discovery, or in the case of the Omega rep, we'll get the Omega points. So I'm going to go ahead and take that. I got an extra 340 dilithium from completing that. I also have another one here. We'll go ahead and complete that while we're at it. And since we're in here, why don't we go ahead and run another daily? Wait a minute. There's no daily available. Why is that? The reason for that is you have different tiers in your rep system. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 was added, I don't know, beginning of last year or something like that. It was added recently, recently, relatively speaking, to how long the game's been out. So in any case, once you complete a tier, you will not be able to do any more dailies. What you need to do is you need to upgrade your rep from being tier 1, which it currently is, and I now have enough points in tier 2, and I need to upgrade. So where we upgrade is going to be here. So we're going to go upgrades available, and we have this upgrade available that's going to take us to the level of 2 for the Dyson Joint Command. I always want to say Dyson Sphere, Dyson's Joint Command. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. We're going to slot it just like we did for our daily, and this is going to cost me 5 marks. So let's go ahead and fill that. And it's got a 5-second countdown, but immediately, or once that's done, it'll bump you up, but you can immediately go to grabbing the next mission here. So now if we go back up to our daily, and we'll take a look at these things here in just a minute. There's these for each one of these, but we'll come back to that. So now that I have progressed up, I am now at tier 2. And now I can continue to run my daily mission for the Dyson Joint Command. So let's go ahead and do that. And this will be ready again for me to accept the reward and move along and run another one in 20 hours. Now, as you go through this system, the first one, I believe this only ends up taking like 2 days. The other thing is once you get all the way to tier 6, you actually, on any character, on other characters, you actually progress through it faster. So if you're brand new to the game and you're looking at yours and you're not getting 5,000 for that daily project, that's why. Once you have one character that has maxed a particular rep out, you should progress faster, get actually more points for each of these dailies than you otherwise would. So if you see this number is different here than what I have, that's the reason for it. So I just unlocked rep 2 of this here, and now what this has done is this has unlocked all this other gear. So a moment ago, we only had 2 items. We had these 2 items available to us. Now we have another 2 items. We have this gravimetric torpedo, and we have a deflector array. So every time you progress through the system, you're going to, or through a level, you're going to unlock more rep gear and make it available to you to buy. On top of that, you're also going to unlock traits. These are rep traits. So let's just take a look at that. So if we jump over here, familiar with the personal space traits, the starship traits, and down here we have space reputation traits, ground and space. We also have some active things here as well, which we'll get to once we jump over to a higher level character. So what we're going to get here, I think these last ones, what do we get? I think we got ground stuff off there. Let's just verify so we can look at the right thing. We got space stuff. Okay. And we got some good space stuff. So it unlocked this trait here, which is advanced targeting systems. This gives us an extra 16% critical severity in space all the time. It's just running. And it also gives us hull reinforcement, which is going to give us plus 10 bonus to all damage resistance rating. That's going to run all the time. And so what you would do then, now that those are available, I'm definitely going to be slotting this one here because I love my crit chance and crit severity. So we're going to select that. Now, if I go back into space, my crit severity has gone up. That's 16%. One of the other really good ones is this one here, Precision, and this is plus 4% critical chance. So excellent, excellent one. There is a lot of must-have ones of these. I mean, this is huge. I mean, even if you don't have starship traits and stuff, you can still do, you know, upper, 80, 90K in an ISA run by just having all of this stuff unlocked to you. And the same with ground. You can do very well by having these traits available to you. I mean, there's not even a starship trait that gives me, or a personal space trait that gives me a boost like this. I mean, the closest one I have is Terran targeting, and it gives me 15%, and that costs, 20 million. This is free. And it's at level 2. So you literally could have this in well under a week if you're, grinding through. It's not even a grind at that level because it doesn't take, that much to get through level 1. Level 2 takes a little bit more. Level 3 takes a little bit more. Once you get to level 6, it takes a lot. So that last little stretch. So it progressively gets to be more points for each tier in that particular rep as you move through it. And you're going to have the same things available to you for ground. Generally, what's going to happen is these are going to alternate. So these were space traits, and as I move forward, now I have ground traits, and then I'm going to have space traits, and so on. And you can click through this and take a look at the things that become available to you. Let's take a look at gear. I'm not going to buy anything at the moment. I don't have quite enough resources, but we can at least take a look at how you go about doing that, okay? So let's just say we want this torpedo here. So it's going to tell you what you need. So, and what we're going to need here is we're going to need 15,000 energy credits, which again isn't nothing. Dilithium, we're going to need 7,500. We're going to need 2 of these Voth cybernetic implants, and then we are going to need 250 Dyson sphere marks. And so we've talked about all of this stuff except for this here. So these are, I guess you could call them, a premium rep mark, if you will. And there's different ones for each of these. A couple of them actually don't have any. I don't think this, the Romulan one, New Romulan, it doesn't have any. But pretty much all the rest of them do have some kind of premium, mark that you'll need to have. Competitive has this one right here. So they're all going to have that stuff. So in order to get those, what you would need to do is run an elite TFO, or I'm sorry, not elite, an advanced TFO. So you'll find, like, especially for me, on like my main character, I run a lot of the Borg stuff, as most of the DPSers will do, and so I get just tons of those things. I mean, I don't throw them away, but I trade them in for dilithium, which we'll talk about in a minute. But let's say you're after something on competitive, or let's say you have I don't know, you have 500 marks, but you're short one of these. So you only have one, and you don't want to run a advanced to get it. This is where you could come down to upgrades, and these will be available here. So I can spend 100 marks and buy myself one of these premium marks, if you will, again. And that'll give it to you right away, but then it does have a 20-hour cooldown. So if you need, some of the other gear is going to require like 5 of these. So you can't just, if you have 500 marks, you can't just buy 500 at once. You'll need to run some advanced on the maps for, these particular items. So you'll need to do like Gateway to Grethor, or I don't know, any of the other Iconian TFOs on advanced, and you'll get one of these dropped to you. And then you could pick up one extra one every 20 hours in order to get what you need. So that is how you purchase items in the rep system, and all of the rest of it's going to be like that. You basically just have to have it unlocked. You have to have enough dilithium refined. You have to have enough of these premium marks, is what I'm going to call them. I'm sure there's an actual name for these, a general name for these. If you know what those are, throw those in the comments for me. Just having a brain fart, but and then you'll need the actual reputation marks, and the cost of stuff will vary. So a warp core is going to cost you like 32,000 of these, of dilithium. It's going to cost 750 plus marks, 5 of these premium marks. It's going to cost you quite a bit more. So that is how you purchase items. Before we start taking a look at the gear, let's take a look at one other nice little thing that this has here. And what we're going to do is we are going to... no, we can actually look at this on this character, I think. Let's see, what do we have? We have 1, and we have some marks. So let's take a look. Trade in marks is grayed out. So no, I'll need to jump over to another character. And what I'm going to show you is once you max out this and you have all the gear maybe you want, or you just have an abundance of marks for a particular one, you can trade those marks or those elite marks in for dilithium. You cannot do that though until you've reached, I believe it's tier 5. It might be 6, but I'm pretty sure it's 5 once you hit tier 5. So let's go ahead and jump on over to another character and just take a quick look at that. Okay, here we are on my main toon. Let's take a look at turning in some marks. So as you can see, I have quite a few of the Omega marks. I basically have everything out of that I want. So if you find that yourself in that position, or you need dilithium to get something, you need 2,000 more to refine to buy something in another system, or for whatever reason you want dilithium, you don't have to spend all of it, or if you don't have any use for it any longer, you can trade it all in. So if we go down here to trade in marks, we can trade in marks for, it's a 10-to-1 ratio. So basically 50 marks is going to get me 500. And we don't want to do that one. We want to do Omega. So let's go ahead and trade that in. So I have 10,000 marks. So if I trade in as many as I have, so let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to go ahead and max that out. That is going to give me, I think I already had 20. So that's going to give me 50,000 marks by doing that, and I still have 5,000 left. So basically I have 100,000 in dilithium just sitting here, which is going to give me that unrefined, and I can move forward refining that. So this system, if you're playing the game, becomes a real easy way to make sure that you just, you always have enough dilithium for a particular character where you can trade that in. Now with the elite marks, I have 30 of those. Maybe it's elite marks is what they are. Yeah, look, does that say that there? No, it doesn't. Anyways, yeah, if you know what these are called, let me know. They're the Borg nodes here. But so I can trade these in, and these are going to give me 1,000 for every 3 of them. So we're going to trade in, 30? And that's going to give us another 10,000 dilithium. So when you start to have excess of marks and of the elite marks or the premium marks, then you can go ahead and start trading those in to build up your dilithium reserves. Okay, we're just going to kind of browse this. There's a ton of stuff in here, and I'm going to focus mainly on, DPS damage stuff. There is a ton of stuff in here for science, for, torpedoes. Like on our torpedo builds, the majority of them are from the rep system. So let's just kind of go through the list. So I use a lot of stuff out of the Discovery rep here. The armor for ground is probably the best in the game right now. If we take a look at that, especially once you get it to Epic, it picks up another mod that gives you quite a bit of extra critical. I think it does add the critical chance. Let's take a look at what the base does here. There's just so much stuff in this game. So there's 2 versions of it. They basically have the same specs, but one of them is also an EV suit. So I'd recommend going with the EV suit. So if you do a ground mission or a ground TFO that requires one, then it's just built into it. So that's definitely the way to go there. So, okay, so that last mod when you go to Epic is going to add a 40% critical severity. So it comes stock with the 10% critical chance. So once you get it fully upgraded, the critical chance and critical severity that you get off that is very good. I was using one of the fleet ones before, which is also very good because it gives you 80% critical severity. So I am losing half of that, but I'm picking up 10% critical chance just by going to this armor set. And that trade-off, being able to do 40% more when I crit, or being able to crit 10% more of the time, being able to crit 10% more of the time, or stacked on top of what the current critical chance is on it, is definitely worth it. My current critical chance with the gambling device going is almost 40%. So definitely an excellent armor suit, or EV armor suit. I guess I kind of mix those 2 things together. The other items, and let's also just talk before we go farther into the space stuff. So if you take a look at any of these, and I think I already had this unlocked, and that's probably why it's not showing, but let's take a look at a different one. Okay, here we go. So you'll see that one of these ground pieces is going to show there's a tailor unlock. And so what you need to do in order to unlock it is purchase the 3 pieces that complete the set. And you can see the set piece down in the description there is going to be the battle rifle and the personal shield. So if I pick up these 3 items, once I own all 3 of them, that is going to unlock a tailor unlock, which you can kind of see kind of a sample of it here. I don't have this one on this particular character, but pretty much all of these are going to have that unlock, and some of these are really cool looking. I really like the one that I started off the video with. There's quite a few other ones that are just really, really good looking. And when you jump over to the Klingon side, they'll actually have slightly different ones and different looking weapons. So on my Klingon, she's wearing a cape, and it's the Klingon Honor Guard. It looks really cool. There's a helmet that looks very much like a medieval kind of knight kind of a look to it, and that comes from the rep system set. So there's not a lot of variation between the factions. That's just the one that I'm familiar with, and there's not a ton. So I think that's the only one. But there is some variation depending on your faction. But most of the reps, there are a couple exceptions with pretty much all of these things that I'm saying across the reps. Are going to have a tailor unlock, and like I said, some of these armor sets are very good, or at least pieces of them are very good. You don't have to wear them either in order to have the look. So let's just say I wanted this set, I want to look like this guy right here. I could get all 3 of these pieces and just throw them in my bank, and it just unlocks on the tailor, and I can change the way I look and look like I'm wearing this, or I will be wearing this, but I technically won't actually be sporting that armor in my kit out there. So that's the tailor unlocks for the rep armor. So let's go back to discovery. I'm just going to hit a couple more of these. There's so much stuff in here. This video could go on for hours and hours, but a lot of this stuff you're going to be somewhat familiar with. So, these 2 items together for tanking or just survivability if you're doing solos, or if you're just finding you're dying a little bit. The shield is awesome by itself. I run it pretty much on everything that's not science for the most part. If I'm running a tank, or I just need to be a little more tanky, I'll go ahead with the warp core, which is a decent warp core by itself, although depending on your build, there are other better ones that are specific, for whatever it is you're doing. But when you put both of these together, the set bonus that you get for it gives you a massive amount of hull regen. If you mix that with a colony tactical console, if you take a look at the last video I did that talks about that, you mix those 2 things together, and that hull regen becomes just ridiculous. So excellent space set, excellent shield even by itself. I encourage you to take a look at these, read through them. I mean, there's a lot of little nuance depending on how the build, that you're putting together. The shield by itself, based on your shield power, will give you extra shield penetration to the enemy. Lorca console, we talk about this quite a bit. For the critical chance, we'll use it as a set bonus with the torpedo. Or let's say I was doing a dual beam bank overload build. I'm going to use the 3-piece. So there's a disruptor and phaser variant if I'm doing one of these energy types, and the 3-piece is pretty cool too. It essentially gives you like a omnidirectional torpedo launcher. So anything that's within range that is at 50% health or less, it'll just start firing a dark matter torpedo at them, which is pretty cool. And these dual beam banks are awesome as well. They're wide arc, so they have a much wider angle of attack. So I'll even use these on my broadsiders, and I'm able to kind of angle my ship in a way to where this is being able to fire, and so are the beams on the back being able to fire as well. That takes some practice. It's some piloting in order to pull that off. I don't always do a good job at it, but I'm getting better. But all of this gear here is just excellent, excellent, excellent stuff. All of these space sets also will have a variant for Romulan ships. So if you need a Singularity core, there will be a flavor of the same thing in the Singularity core. So let's take a look here at Task Force Omega. So this one you can get as soon as you unlock Tier 1. This is a must-have console. It's excellent. Critical chance, critical severity, weapons power, even control expertise. So I'll even use these on some of my control science builds. They don't call it an omnidirectional, but this is essentially a kinetic omnidirectional beam. the game doesn't count this as an Omni, so you can pair this up with another one. I had someone in one of my videos ask, hey, how do you have 3 Omnis in the back? Well, I had a crafted one. I had one from a mission drop, so you can do those 2 together. The game lets you do 2 Omnis as long as they're both not crafted or they're both not drop or lockbox. And then you can also put this rep item in the back, but in the description, it does not call it an omnidirectional weapon, even though it is. So you could actually have, quote unquote, 3 omnidirectional weapons in the back of a ship. Say you're running a 5-3 beam overload build or something like that. You could have 3 of these items essentially in the back, all firing forward. The set bonus from this is okay. I'll take it if I don't have anything else. It gives you some, I believe, fire cycling, haste, as well as it reduces the cost to your weapon's power. Not bad, but I'm going to replace most. I'm not going to run both of these for the set. And depending on what the build is, if I'm running both, it's going to be for that particular build, not because of the set that you get from this. There's 2 separate space sets in here for the Omega rep. I don't personally run them. I'm sure if you look at these and depending on how you're building, you can find a reason. And don't think if I'm skipping over stuff, I'm saying, oh, it's trash, it's not good. I'm just highlighting a couple of the high level things that jump out to me that I use. There is a ton of good stuff in here. And like I always say, it really all kind of comes down to how you build and, and what you're doing and that kind of thing, how you're choosing to have fun in the game. Some of these sets may be gold to you and they're not to me. And that doesn't mean nothing, so I mean, what I like is what I like, what you like is what you like, and there's no problem with that. So also most of these shields are also going to have a visual, and so will the rest of it. So if you pick up a deflector, it's going to add like an assimilated kind of looking thing coming off your deflector. It's one of these. But they're all going to have something that they give you visual, which is pretty cool. And you could run, let's say like you don't want to use the shield, but you want to have kind of like an assimilated kind of looking, over your whole ship. You could pick up this shield and just slot it in your Vanity Shield slot on your ship, and it will just give your ship the appearance of, running the shield, even though you're not. So all of these are going to have that visual available with it as well. One other thing to note is once you do complete tier 6 with that expansion they added, and I've grabbed a lot of this stuff already. Let me jump down to where I haven't. So you can purchase a discount. So by taking this is going to discount basically all of the costs of any of the gear for all of your characters on the account. So if it's something where you're going to run a couple characters, or you've decided I'm going to run a couple and I'm definitely going to be getting this rep's gear for all of them or something like that, might be worth taking a look at buying the discount with the items here listed. You can pick up Captain Retrain token. This is only once. So once I buy this, that's why it wasn't up in near the top. I've been working my way down the list. They also added just a straight up Vanity Shield to each one. It varies from the ones that are actually, the rep shields that you can use. Looks like I might have picked up the other thing that's in here. So the other thing that they also added, it would normally be in one of these top slots here, is a fleet module, so that you can pick up a fleet module. So if you have a C-store ship and you want the fleet variant, it only costs you 1. It's discounted. Or let's say you're free to play, you haven't bought any tier 6 ships, you can go ahead and pick up, if you have a whole bunch of these reps done, or 5 of them, you can claim 5 of them and turn those in for a tier 6 rep ship. Or not rep ship, fleet ship. You obviously won't get the trait and the console because that's what comes on the C-store version, but you will be able to get the ship itself. All right, let's keep, we're just going to kind of move through this quick, just kind of point out a few things, to be looking at. Another good console here. This is 0 Point Energy Conduit. This is basically a critical chance, as well as, what does this have? Drain, and it has extra power to all of your subsystems. Some really good torpedoes. If you look through some of these, the gravimetric's excellent. All of these just have really, really good stuff in them. There's a lot of good ground kits. There's some stuff like this one's interesting. So there is a mission that you can run. I think it's at the end of the Iconian arc. I'd have to go look, and I'm not going to get sidetracked. Someone can throw it in the comments there, or if you have a question on it, just let me know. But there is a mission you can run where you get a console. It's a tactical console, and it actually is a part of a set with this rep item and this disruptor or the variant of it. So I guess let's jump back to that. There's just so much stuff, and I don't mean to keep jumping around. But once you get to completing tier 6, it's also going to unlock one variant of whatever the weapon is. So like, let's take a look at Terran Task Force, for instance. So if we go to Terran Task Force, once you get to level 4 completed, you will be able to pick up this here. This is probably one of the best beams in the entire game. If you're running a disruptor build, even if it's a dual beam bank build, I'm most likely still going to have this on the ship. Excellent, excellent, excellent beam. It's only disruptor. Until you complete tier 6, all of the reps are going to give you one other flavor with basically the same kind of proc that you had from the original one. So in this instance, it's giving us a phaser version of this. The other thing that it does is once you hit tier 6, all of these weapons are going to get a little boost to them. And essentially, it's going to be a 2% bonus damage. I'm going to be doing another podcast where I just kind of discuss the different kinds of damage types for you guys, so that you can kind of understand the difference there. Because if you look on average, 5-6% bonus damage is like adding a whole nother epic tactical console at almost 40% Cat 1. So just kind of mull that over. There'll be more on that coming, and I'll explain that when you're looking at it. But same thing if you're doing a cannon build, these need to be on it. They need to be in the first slot, firing the most. These weapons are best in slot for doing a phaser or a disruptor cannon build. You will have these. If you don't, then you're missing out. And there's no other way around that. There's no substitute. These weapons are excellent. If we're looking at, say, like science, the temporal space set, I generally run the 2-piece in some configuration for the 2-piece that you get from it, which gives you extra damage over time, which is mainly what science is. Lucari, what do we take from the Lucari? I have in the past used some of the Polaron stuff from here, and then I believe they also have a plasma variant. If you're doing like a Polaron beam build, there's a couple different Polaron weapons through this. So if you're at tier 6, each of those weapons are going to have that extra 2% bonus damage. So if you can pick up, one from each, because you can only slot one. So that's something else to mention. You can't fill your ship up with this here. Competitive, the competitive engine I run, there's a couple different variants of that depending on if you're, want it to proc off science abilities or tactical abilities. You can use any of the flavors on any class of character. It really kind of depends on your build. So let's just look at this one here. This one is going to give us not just the speed boost and the turn rate, which they all do, but it's going to give us a 10% increase in the recharge speed on all our science bridge officer abilities. And this is going to happen upon activation of control or drain bridge officer abilities. For tactical, it's going to be tactical firing modes. So you need to look at your build and decide what you're doing. But these are excellent engines, not just for the extra speed boost, but that extra cooldown on your bridge officers. Last, we have the Gamma Rep. If you're doing cannon builds, either Polaron or Phaser, the cannons are good. The Omnis are excellent. They're going to count these Omnis as mission drops. So mission drop Omnis, or mission reward Omnis is probably a better way to say it. Lockbox Omnis and Rep Omnis, it basically is going to view all the same. So you could pick one of any of those three. Then you could pick a crafted, and then you could use that Borg quote-unquote Omni. It's not an Omni, but it might as well be. So just a little note there. There's, mines, Tour of the Galaxy, the engine here, the warp core, I use that for the Tour of the Galaxy. If you take a look at the Tour of the Galaxy video that I did, for the boost that it gives to that. So again, we just briefly, I'm trying to kind of rush through this bit of it because there's just so much. I may go through and just kind of make a list or do a video of here's what you should get for, starting off tactical stuff to be after, science, that kind of thing. And see if that is something you guys are interested. Let me know. Throw that down in the comments. I think that pretty much covers all the gear from it. So we discussed how to get to the rep system, how the rep system works, how to get marks, how to progress through the rep system, how to still utilize overflow of resources in the rep system, how to purchase items from the rep system, and what items are that I personally liked and wanted just to highlight a few of. And again, I know I missed a bunch that I like and use. There's just so many. And then, on top of that, I would continue to miss stuff that I'm sure many of you like and use. So the last thing that we need to take a look at is each of these rep systems have a store. Store tends to be kind of expensive, but the store is basically what gets dropped in those boxes we looked at earlier. So when you run your daily, you get that box drop, and it's going to basically be a random one of these items from the store. And you'll find that most of, like, there's no weapons in this one, so, but all of them are either going to give you like extra crit, or they're going to give you like extra hull capacity, and then it'll be in the flavor or a particular console, you know, for science or, you know, cannons or beams kind of things, and with those different kinds of extra boosts. They're not procs, it's just built into it. So if we go down, say to, like, we were looking at Lucari, and let's say you did want to fill your ship up with a whole bunch of these weapons. They're not going to be the same exact weapons, but many of these are going to have, you know, ship weapons. So if we take a look at like beam arrays, this is going to be very similar, kind of watered down version. It's going to have like a similar proc, but maybe not as good as the one that you can buy that's an actual rep item that you buy with rep resources. These are going to be purchased straight up with just dilithium, and honestly, they're pretty expensive. I don't think I run anything from any of these stores on any of my ships. And it's not that it's not good, to be honest. I just haven't paid a lot of attention. None of it is, you know, your meta stuff, and I've really been kind of chasing that for the years, and I'm really starting to kind of go more down the way of, you know, just kind of building fun stuff, cool stuff, trying to make things work that nobody else has. And this is probably going to be a place that I need to start looking a little bit more in to see, you know, what kind of stuff is, you know, available, and, you know, what could I have fun with. So I definitely encourage you, if you have lots of dilithium, take a look through some of this stuff. There's just, I mean, this is just one store. I mean, just look how much different kinds of things there are in here. There's just a ton of it. So that's the last bit of the rep system. I don't think I'm missing anything. If I am, go ahead and throw that down in the comments. It's definitely possible. It's getting pretty late, and there's quite a bit in this rep system to cover and get through, but I think we've pretty much touched on all of it. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments or join the Discord. There'll be a link down below. Again, if you found this video helpful and you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe, ring the bell, give me a thumbs up. That helps me out quite a bit, and I really would appreciate that from you. So I think that's it, guys. Until next time, have a good one, stay safe, and thank you very much for watching.